Hazards. They play a large role in many of Mario Kart Wii's tracks. Some of them are big, some of them are small, some of them are... In this video, we'll be ranking all of the hazards in the game on a tier list. Let's get started. I don't think anyone else has done this. The stage hazards, they play a big part in some races. I suppose, a lot of times they don't do anything, but sometimes they do. So I'm going to be ranking them all. All right, for starters, we have the bat on Wario's Gold Mine. This is, sometimes it can be a big deal. I don't know, I feel like if you anticipate the bats, they do almost nothing, but every now and then one hits you and just throws you way off to the side. Most of the time they're pretty harmless, just don't hit them in a wheelie or you get stopped. They're fine, they don't contribute a lot to the track. I'm gonna say this is a C tier hazard. And as you can see, I've got 6 tiers, so C tier is the lower half. This is not a very good hazard. Next up, we have the boulder on DK Mountain. I'm not gonna lie, the boulder can be pretty annoying. A lot of times you take the turn. It's the turn right before like the little gap cut shortcut. And a lot of times the boulder is just in like the most inconvenient spot possible and you have to either stop or just hit it. I don't think you lose your item when you hit it. I'll have to check. It's right before the item set too, this boulder at least in this picture. Does this contribute to the track, right? It's not just about if it's frustrating, it's also about how much it contributes to the track, to races. Does this alter the outcome of a race? I'm gonna say almost always no. You know what? I'm moving the bat to D tier. And I think I'm going to put this in C tier. This just seems like such a C tier hazard to me. Next up we have the bomb, the cannon bomb on Shy Guy Beach. This is an interesting one because as far as I'm aware, this is the only hazard that was actually used and still is used in some cases to perform a shortcut. By clipping off a bomb, you can do an ultra shortcut on this track. I think this is a pretty cool hazard just for that reason. In terms of actually altering a race, sometimes they can be a huge nuisance, sometimes they're not that bad. I definitely think this is more like... This makes more of a difference than the bat or the boulder. I'm gonna give this A tier, I think. This seems like an A tier hazard to me. The cataquacks. I hate these guys. I think most people hate these guys because they are very, very annoying. But I'll give them credit, it is a hazard, it is an enemy, so to speak. It is supposed to be annoying, it is supposed to be a nuisance to deal with, and that's exactly what these guys are. Hitting one of these is basically like hitting a blue shell. You get flung so high in the air. I really want to say these aren't fair because I just don't like them at all, but they are on like a cycle online, and in time trials they will walk the same paths every time you play the track. Now, if you're playing offline multiplayer, these guys are horrifying because they will track you down and they will just hit you over and over. You will get juggled by the cataquacks. Thankfully, you'll rarely find yourself playing offline unless it's time trials. So, I think the cataquacks, as much as I dislike them, I do think they do their job very, very well. This is an S tier hazard. It gets in the way, it's annoying, it contributes to the track a lot. What more could you ask for in a hazard? The oil spill. Oil spill's an F. When I was going through all the tracks to get all the screenshots, to make this tier list, I actually forgot the oil spills were even a thing. And I have been playing this track recently as well. And then when I finally went and drove through the track, there are only 2. And they aren't even on good lines. You have to go out of your way to hit these. I actually don't remember the last time I drove over one of the oil spills. It wouldn't surprise me if it has been multiple years. It doesn't contribute to the track. It doesn't really get in the way. You can just hop over them if you have enough speed. This is the most useless hazard in the game, and I'm very comfortable in saying that. We have the cacti on Dry Ruins. I can only really think of a couple you can actually hit. There's the ones right by the sand hop in the beginning, and I'm pretty sure when you're taking the ultra, there's a couple up on the top layer that you can hit. maybe, so I don't think there are any on the main road. A lot of them are like way out in the distance. It's almost like they're more so just meant to be a piece of decoration than an actual hazard, but whatever, you know, it's C tier. It seems like C tier to me. The Shy Guy Beach Crab. In terms of online, I feel like you can avoid these pretty easily most of the time. For time trials, these guys are terrible. I mean, it's a cycle-based element on the track. You can actually get pace locked by the crabs. I think that just because of that, like, it serves more of a purpose in time trials than online, at least in my experience. I would love to put it in C tier for crab tier. This is a lot more important than like a boulder or a cactus. I'm gonna put it in B tier. And you know what? I think I'm gonna move this to B tier as well, because it is cool that it's got the shortcut, but most of the time you're not actually gonna hit the bombs, especially since they're on a cycle and it's not like any of them are like right in the middle of the main road. You can always avoid the bombs if you notice them, and you probably will, because they're huge, they flicker, and they take a long time to go off. The Daisy Circuit Cone. I debated whether or not I should even include this as a hazard, because it really doesn't... It's not really a hazard. I don't know. It slows you down a little bit when you hit them. I would say it does its job. I'm not quite sure what its job is. Again, this feels like it's more of a decoration, like the cacti, than it is a hazard. I mean, even the bats, I feel like, are better than the cones in terms of contributing to a race or a time trial. I think that's where they belong. The crates. The crates appear on Delfino Square and Toad's Factory. I think that's it. A lot of times when you hit these online, an item will actually spawn. So it can be a banana or a mushroom. I don't know if there's anything else. I think it's just those two. But when you're playing offline, you can see it's got a little like metal trimming here. They don't break offline, so you can't break them and get items. And now that I think about it, actually, the bomb on Shy Guy Beach is not the only hazard to make a shortcut possible, because this one also does. On Toad's Factory, you clip off of the crate and you can skip a turn. It's kind of cool, because if you really know what you're doing, sometimes you can actually like hit the crate and have a mushroom spawn and then benefit from it. But most of the time it just seems like they're kind of in the way. Especially on Toad's Factory. I mean, if you're not doing the shortcut, there's a section where these are pretty annoying. This is another one I'm not totally sure if it's like a hazard or if it's just... Really, I don't know what it's supposed to be, actually. I guess it's cool how the ones on Toad's Factory have items inside because it's an item box factory, so maybe this is like the inventory that they're using to stock the boxes. I don't know, man. I'm thinking this is... It's better than the cacti. Is it better than the boulders? I think it's probably about here. Yeah, I'm also going to swap these. I just keep, the more I think about the bomb, the more useless I kind of realize it is. Now we have the mole. So there are moles, I think only on 2 different tracks. There are moles on Moo Moo Meadows and on DS Peach Gardens. The ones on Peach Gardens, they're not so bad. They don't move. They're stationary. They hop out of their hole, so just don't drive over the mole hole and you won't get hit. On Moo Moo Meadows, they're a lot more annoying because they move around, and not only does that mean it's harder to anticipate where they're going to be, that's still pretty easy actually, but if you drive over their little trail that they leave behind, it slows you down, and it slows you down a lot sometimes. Now, do they contribute to the track? Specifically on Moo Moo Meadows, I think they do. As much as I don't like the fact that they exist, yeah, they add to the track. Probably more than any of these. I'm going to say this is a B tier. Seems like a B tier hazard. The lava bubbles on Bowser's Castle 3. I don't think these appear anywhere else, and quite frankly, I'm glad they don't appear anywhere else. I don't know, I think they're only annoying on this track because of where they are. So like, if you're trying to go for all the low tricks, one of these can just hop up and slip you out, and you lose all your speed. I think they make more sense online, because when you're playing online, sometimes an item box will jump up instead of one of these. I think it's like on every other little island. I feel like it's easy to avoid, and yet when you don't avoid them, it's just annoying. I think this is probably worse than the cacti, because it's just, I don't know. I mean, I know a lot of people haven't thought about their favorite hazard, but I challenge you all. I mean, pick one out of all of these. Are you picking the lava bubble? You're probably not. The penguin on Sherbetland. So there are actually two different variants of penguins. There are the taller ones that walk around inside the cave, and then there's the sliding ones. I'm counting them as the same thing. They do the same thing. You slip out when you hit one, you keep your item, you don't slow down that much, whatever, you know. Especially in time trials, like, you have to get used to where the penguins are on each lap, and depending on your pace, like how far left to go, how far right to go, whatever. It doesn't, like, some of these other ones feel like they were tacked on at the last second. The oil spill is just a disgrace to the whole game. I want to put this in S tier. I feel like the Cataquack is so iconic that it gets S tier all to its own, at least for now. But I'm going to give this A tier. This will be our first A tier hazard. The Goomba. The Goombas are cool because they do get in the way and they do move around, so it is kind of a cycle-based thing. But there is a well-known strategy known as the Shroomba. If you hit a Goomba with a shell or a Mega Mushroom or a star, whatever item, a mushroom flies out, and you can hit the mushroom. One cool instance of this is like on Koopa Cape. There's a grass shortcut right around one of the first turns in the track, and there's Goombas there a lot of the time. So what people will do is they'll hit one with a shell, get the mushroom to pop out, and then use it to cut across the grass. I think it's cool. It adds a bit more strategy. It does definitely contribute to any race. Are they an actual hazard? No. These guys don't, like, almost ever get in the way. It just feels, I mean, they're like the penguin, except the penguin actually moves around and kind of trips you up sometimes. These guys just stand there and occasionally move. They are very, very slow. I mean, I think there's good and bad about the Goomba. Now, the Goomba is a little bit... No. They never get in the way. They almost never get in the way. The Shroomba is cool. That gets it up to C tier. I think it's going to go above these two. I don't know, man. It's contributed more to any race than the rest of it. What is this doing here? This goes there. Yeah, I think this is our C tier for now. The car, specifically the car on Moonview Highway. Now, if the car's job is to be a hazard and to get in the way and to potentially ruin your race if you hit one, absolutely, the car does its job. It is an S tier hazard. However, I'll say it, this is the only case in the game where a hazard is so bad it ruins the entire track. This is just my own personal preference. I think Moonview Highway is one of the least fun tracks in the game, mostly because these things are everywhere. It's really a shame. It's a pretty flat track. It's got okay music. The design isn't terrible. You know, there's some cool little Easter eggs out there. The car ruins it, though. I absolutely despise how many cars there are on this track. If you hit one, it either bumps you over and you lose like a couple seconds, or you get run over and then you're just totally up the creek without a paddle. This thing is awful. I really, really don't like it. I mean, it's a hazard. You're not supposed to like it, but I definitely don't think they intended this to ruin an entire track. I think it's probably... I think it's a B tier. I mean, it's an iconic hazard for sure. You can tell they toned it back a lot as well in Mario Kart 8 when they re-released the track. But the damage has already been done. You know, we're still playing Mario Kart Wii, and we still gotta put up with this. Next up, we have the other car, the car on Coconut Mall. These cars aren't nearly as annoying as the ones on Moonview. They just drive back and forth on a loop over and over. They block the boost panels at the end, so it's kind of cool. It depends on like your pace, how many boost panels you can hit. If you're really good at maneuvering, maybe you can hit all three, even if a car's in the way. I think that the cars on Coconut Mall are some of the better hazards in this game. I also think that people actually do hit them, despite the fact that they're almost totally stationary. They're in the same part of the track every time. They don't move super fast. You still hit them often. It's kind of surprising, actually. Really? You know, this might be a little... You know, no, I'm going to say this is an S tier hazard. I really do like the car on Coconut Mall. Unlike the other car, this one does not ruin the entire track. It just adds to it, and that's good. We have the snowboarding Shy Guy. Don't necessarily dislike the idea. I just don't like how they put a couple of these guys right at the very end of the track. The last turn. You're in time trials, you have a great run going, your last turn, you're about to set a new PB, and then you hit one of these. It's just like, it sucks. I wouldn't say that that's bad necessarily for it as a hazard, like it's supposed to get in the way. I don't know though, it can feel a little bit unfair. If it's the very last second and you're hitting a hazard, then it's like, you know, it's unfortunate. It feels bad. That said, I mean, I think it accomplishes what it sets out to accomplish. I definitely think it's better than like the mole, boulder, car, or crab, so I'm gonna give this A tier. We have the piranha plants in the pipes. I'm pretty sure these are only on GCN Mario Circuit. If we're just talking about time trials and online, and we're not talking about offline races, they feel really random. Like just every now and then they'll just snap at you. I guess for time trials you can get used to when they do it, but if you're playing online, it like you're driving by one of them, you never know if it's just gonna snap at you. Yeah, I really don't have anything bad to say about it. I guess the randomness, I don't like that, but it just as well could be a good thing. Now the question is it as good as the Shy Guy? I would say, yeah, I'd say it's about here. It's better than the Shy Guy, not quite as good as the Penguin. The cows on Moo Moo Meadows. Listen, I love them. I love their design. I think it's nice that they always got a big smile on their face. Everything is always going great in these cows' lives. But it's rare that they actually like get in the way. It's rare that they're an actual hazard, that they do anything bad. Like, I don't hate it, right? In the same way I don't hate the cone or I don't hate the bat. It's fine. It just doesn't mean much to me. They don't do anything. This is a D tier hazard. I think it's better than the lava bubble. No, I think it's probably worse than the lava bubble. Yeah, that seems about right. We have the giant Bowser fireball in Bowser's Castle. These are very predictable most of the time. They're right in the middle, which I get that they probably thought that was the fastest way to drive this part of the track, but it really isn't. So if you're playing online, most of the time you're going to be taking the side routes. The giant fireball is not going to be getting in your way at all. And if you're playing in time trials, then you're probably going to be taking the side routes, and the giant fireball isn't going to get in your way at all. It's cool. It's cool. It's a big explosion. It's, you know, it's extreme and it's fiery like Bowser. It's C tier. I definitely think you're more likely to hit this than you are to hit a cow. And if you hit one of these, I mean, it'll be big for your race. It'll have a big effect. I think that pushes it above the cactus, as a matter of fact. Now we have the trucks on Moonview Highway. Same problem basically as the cars. The only difference, I mean, this is a slightly better hazard technically because if you're in a Mega Mushroom, you can just go straight through the cars. You cannot go straight through the trucks. As far as I'm aware, that's the only difference. So I guess it's right above the car, because where else would it go? The thwomps. If you're playing it safe, you're not going to hit any thwomps. If you're not playing it safe, you probably are. I think the biggest hazard these guys provide is actually in time trials, specifically on N64 Bowser's Castle. If you're trying to time trial that track, the thwomps are guaranteed to get in your way 100% of the time. You'll lose time because you just barely can't make a cycle going around a thwomp or taking the tightest line through a couple of thwomps. I don't know if that's what they meant for them to be. I mean, I don't know if that's what they were going for, if they were just trying to make a horrible pace-locking track, but hey, they did it, and they used the thwomps to do so. Congratulations. The ones on BC64 specifically, I really should have got a picture of that because that is where they thrive the most, and they're horrible. I think that this is an A tier hazard. It's far more useful than the crab. I don't think it beats the Shy Guy though, because I mean, like I said, these things are mostly terrible because of how much they pace lock you. We've got the Wigglers on Maple Tree Way. A similar thing really as the thwomps. I don't think they're that big of a deal. Like if you hit one, it doesn't even make you like spin out or lose your item, you just bounce. Now I don't want to say they'll pace, like, I don't want to contribute the pace locking to my rating, because truth be told, I think they only pace lock me because I play 1 for 3 glitch. So on lap 3, I show up and there's one that's just like straight up right in the way, and I don't know how to avoid it. I do think that the track would probably be better with 1 wiggler as opposed to, I think there's 2. Like, if they just had the 1 wiggler, it wouldn't be as bad. If they had no wigglers, I think 1 is their lucky number. They gotta have 1. Yeah, it's not that big of a hazard. Like, if you hit it, it's not gonna do that much. I think right here seems good, because I think you're very likely to hit them. They just won't do very much to affect the race. We have the Chain Chomp. I can think of 2 Chain Chomps, GCN Mario Circuit and Wii Mario Circuit. Yeah, they actually do pose a threat. If you're trying to take the turn tight, you have to be cautious. They're on a cycle, so you can get used to when they chomp at you. It would be easier to judge how useful they are online if they weren't on 2 of the most like item reliant tracks in the game. I think you have to worry about it more than the mole, less than the boulder. Right here seems right. The fire breathing Bowser on N64 Bowser's Castle. It wouldn't surprise me if a good number of you didn't even know that this actually can affect you. But when he's breathing fire, if you hit the fire, you spin out. Especially if you're playing in time trials, like, you have to go so wide to even hit the fire. If you're playing online and you go for the furthest left item and you just in the wrong place at the wrong time, maybe you get hit by it and you get spun out. It's as if you hit a banana. This is an F tier hazard. It's not as bad as the oil spill, but it's bad. We have the volcanic eruptions on Grumble Volcano, the little meteors. Kind of, I don't know what you call that, little bits of debris from the volcano. This is just a case of, like, it could be a better hazard. I mean, it's similar to the oil spill, really, or to the fire-breathing Bowser. If these landed in the right spots, they could actually throw off your race. Most of the time, they land in the most, like, outlandish places. You know what? I feel like this is similar to the cow, right? Because if you hit one of these, it can mess you up. But are you going to? Probably not. The cows affect the race more than these, so I think it's going to be right behind the cone. The fire snakes. Oh man, the fire snakes. I really don't like them in time trials because they spawn. It seems like when they spawn in, they're right in front of you. Maybe that's just me. Maybe my memory is a little shoddy because I haven't played this track in a little bit. It's definitely more effective than the mole. Yeah. I think I'm going to say this is an A tier hazard. Yeah. I'm saying this is an A tier hazard. Next up, we have the other piranha plants, not in the pipe this time. These are exclusive to N64 Mario Raceway. You'll hit them sometimes if you take the shortcut too tight, and that's it. Otherwise, they're scenery. They're a decoration. It's no more harmful than flowers in your garden. I don't want to put this in D tier. You'll almost never hit a cow. You'll almost never hit the volcanic debris. But if you're going for the shortcut, the grass shortcut, you might hit this. I think that this is similar to the cacti. You hit it sometimes. I think you hit it less often because with the cacti, they're sort of hidden, specifically with the sand hop. So you can hit these on accident. If you're hitting this, like, you saw it from a mile away and you just messed up your lines. There's no element of surprise to it. Next is the Pokies. These aren't that big of a deal. I guess on time trials, specifically on Desert Hills and Dry Ruins, they can be annoying. They can get in the way. But if you're playing online, they're really not that big of a deal. They're more of a time trialers issue. Just because of that, it's like, they do their job in time trials, they lack in online. I think this is probably C tier. No, I think it's B tier. I think it's more harmful than the mole. The minecart. The minecart is great. It definitely does its job well. Pretty sure you can go through these with a Mega Mushroom. I'm certain you can with a star, I'm certain you can with a bullet, and it's a cycle-based thing, but they're constantly coming through. There's one that takes the left path, which is usually the optimal path for online. If you're trying to take that path, then there's a risk you're taking. You might hit one of these on accident. If you do, and then you fall down into the mine, that loses a bunch of time. But it's a good trade-off, good risk-reward kind of thing. I like them how you're supposed to like a hazard. They add some challenge to the track. They aren't just frustrating, but at the same time, they kind of are. I'm going to say this is an S-tier hazard. I think that this is what you're looking for. If you are trying to make a hazard for a track in Mario Kart Wii, look to the minecart for advice. We have the lava pillars. Now these differ a lot depending on track. On N64 Bowser's Castle, there are a few that you will almost never hit because they aren't even on the track. They're meant for decoration. There are a couple that you will hit because they are coming up right after a ramp and you need to choose whether to go left or right accordingly. On Bowser's Castle Wii, there are some going around one turn, and then at the end there's a bunch that spout up out of the ground. These are the good ones, because you can trick off these. You can't just trick off of them randomly. Like, you have to plan where you're going to go, you have to have a good aim, you can't just be going straight over one of the other geysers, or, you know, you lose all your speed, you get stopped. Specifically on N64 Bowser's Castle, though, they are really, really rough, because if you hit one, you're falling into the lava. End of story. A lot of times, and I don't know if other people do this, I'm guilty of doing this, when there's the one on the right, I try and squeeze and go further to the right of it so I can land on the railing and do the rail shortcut, and I think I've had that work like once or twice, but it's usually not a good idea. I'm kind of rambling. I think that this is a pretty good hazard, though. I think it does its job. I think it's going to go in... Does it go B tier or A tier? This is A tier. That seems about right. We have the fidget spinner. There's several of these on Bowser's Castle. There are some on GCN Waluigi Stadium. There's some other sort of shapes on Waluigi Stadium. I think there's a ring as well. We're counting those all as this, because they're all basically the same thing. If you know what you're doing, you're not going to hit it. Yeah, that's it. It's not great. I'll say top of D tier. That seems right. The Stomper on Toad's Factory. They remind me a lot of the truck on Moonview Highway, because you can't drive through this with a Mega, but you can with a Star. And if you get squished by one, well, you get squished. It's the same kind of thing as the car. Unlike the truck, it doesn't completely ruin the track. There's only a few of these. I think they're all right in the beginning. And I think that they do add to the track. These are responsible for there being a few different shroom strats for time trials specifically, which I think is kind of cool. I think they add to the track, and I think that that's a good thing. I think it's going to go in B tier. It's definitely better than the trucks. You know what? No, it's not quite A tier. I think it's better than the crab. Let's put it like, there we go. That's right. And finally, last, but certainly not least, because the oil spill is least, we have the Zapper from Koopa Cape. You know, I kind of wish they used these on more tracks, because it's a really interesting concept. It's the only thing I know of, the only way I know of, where you can get shrunken in time trials. I think it's cool. I like them. You know, it's like you know what to expect on Koopa Cape, and you won't hit them on accident all the time. You can get bumped into them, you can get hit by an item, and you're in the current, and then it like pushes you forward into them. So it's something to look out for. I do think it contributes to the track, though. I think it makes Koopa Cape a little more exciting. Is it better than the... It's not better than the Penguin. It goes there. I think I'm pretty comfortable with this list. We have it, folks, the Stage Hazards tier list in Mario Kart Wii. If you guys have opinions, please let me know about them. I would love to hear what you guys have to say. So that's all for this video. Thank you all for watching. I love you guys, and I hope to see you in the next one.